Next up, I want to take just a minute to talk about managing and viewing as roles. Now, within the Modeling tab, you'll see a security tool group with two options. When you click the Manage Roles option, it allows you to actually define filtered views so that your report can be tailored to specific audiences. So in this case, we're choosing to filter down the territory lookup table based on the condition or the expression that the continent field must equal Europe. And you can create a number of different roles based on different DAX filter expressions. So in this case here, we've created views for each territory manager, Europe, North America, and Pacific, based on those simple DAX filter statements. Continent equals Europe, continent equals North America, etc. Now what's important to make clear is that you're not just pointing a user to a pre-filtered view. So when you select the Europe role that we've created, for instance, you're not seeing the Executive Summary tab pre-filtered down to Europe. You're seeing a version of the report that literally doesn't contain data for any other continent. And that's why this is different from simply creating a bookmark or a pre-filtered view that you can link to. This is actually running the selected table through a DAX filter expression and chopping out rows that don't meet the condition. So what we're dealing with here is essentially row level security, meaning we're defining specifically what rows of our data set certain users or user groups are able to access. So this is very simple to set up. Let's head to Power BI and I'll show you how this works. All right, so back in our Exec Summary tab, what we're going to do here is head to the Modeling tab, click on Security, Manage Roles. This is where we create or define a new role. And just like the example we talked about, let's create individual roles for each territory so that we can provide AdventureWorks sales managers from different regions with reports that only contain the data that's relevant to them. So let's start with a role named Europe. And basically we define which table we need to filter down. In this case, the only table that we need to filter is the AW territories lookup. And then we write a simple DAX filter expression that returns a true-false value. So in this case, continent equals Europe. It's as simple as that. Now this little icon tells us that this is the table that's filtered. And in the window here, we see the expression that defines the filter. So press save. There we go. And now when we click View as Roles, we have Europe as an option here. So watch what happens and pay very close attention specifically to our map and to our map slicer. When we click Europe, press OK. See what happened? We are now filtered on Europe, but our continent slicer only contains a single value aside from select all, which is Europe. So that really emphasizes the difference between simply creating a filtered view and actually defining row level security that prevents rows of data from actually reaching the report. So from here, we can simply say stop viewing. Back to normal, we can manage roles, create another for Pacific, click the territories lookup, and write the same kind of expression for Pacific instead of Europe. Press save. View as roles. Now we've got a Pacific option as well. And there you go, same thing. So a Pacific sales manager in this example has no idea that data from Europe or North America is tied into this model or even exists. So it's a great tool when you have sensitive information or need to create very specific access rights for certain user groups or teams in your organization. So let's go ahead and stop viewing Pacific. Now, one thing worth calling out here is that by implementing row level security rules, this does have impacts in other places. And one area is when it comes to actually publishing reports. Now again, publishing and collaborating will be covered in depth in an entirely separate focused course, but I will provide a quick preview on what it looks like to load this to service. Now, if I have row level security roles defined, that prevents me from publishing this to the web. So in this case, I don't really need those roles. So I'm going to go back and delete the two that we created, just so that later on I can demo what that publish to web functionality really looks like. So we'll save, and now we're back to usual. We've got no additional roles, and that should do it. So good intro to row level security and using Power BI's manage roles options.